Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar series, Securing Your Business. My name is Amy Morgan, and I'm the Associate Vice President of Programs for the Winter Park Chamber. We are certainly glad you're here, whether you're watching live on Zoom, live on Facebook, or even later on demand on YouTube. We hope that this time, our 4 o'clock webinars, Monday through Thursday, can be a time for you to gather with your community and a time for you to resource yourself with information to help you navigate COVID-19 and these interesting times that we are living in. As you may know, if you've been with us from the beginning, we've been holding this webinar for 7 weeks, and we've had lots of different speakers on to help you work through these challenges. We've had U.S. Congresswoman Stephanie Murphy, Assistant County Attorney, and many local business owners and community members to share best practices and tips to help you navigate these times. I am thrilled today to have an interesting topic that we have had lots of requests for, a deep dive into what is going on in the real estate market. I'm thrilled to introduce our speaker today, Jessica Kendrick. She is with Kendrick Law Group. Jessica is the founder and managing partner of the Kendrick Law Group, a boutique law firm in Maitland. They focus on Florida business law, family law, real estate, closings, civic litigation, estate planning, and probate law. As a longtime Floridian, Jess received her undergraduate degree in marketing from the University of Central Florida and went on to earn her Juris Doctor degree from Barry University of Law, graduating with honors. She gives back tremendously to her community in many ways and has launched her own 501c3 organization, Hope for More Foundation, with her partners. We are thrilled to have her on today to talk about how the pandemic is affecting the current real estate market and closings. Welcome, Jessica. We're so glad to have you on today.
Thank you guys for having me so much. I'm honored to be here, and that was such a nice intro. I appreciate that.
You're very welcome. We're excited to hear what you have, and I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, this is like so weird to do a Zoom where I don't know who I'm talking to, but thank you guys all for tuning in, even watching later. And I'm really going to try to do an overview on what we've seen in the last about 30 days in the real estate market. I pulled a lot of information from some of our awesome clients, especially in the zip code 32789 and 32792, just to show that we're still thriving and real estate is still moving and grooving. And, you know, when a dip happens, there's opportunities on the other side. And that's really how we've been looking at it. And from a closing perspective, what the changes are going to come. And what we'll probably see coming out of this pandemic in the future and what will stick. Like, are we going to be on Zoom calls all the time? To me, I hope not. I like the face-to-face, but I think a lot of the industry will change because there are some technologies that have come out of this, have come out of the real estate industry, have allowed agents to do more, closing companies to do more, attorneys to do more and more effective and efficient for their clients. That really will stick, and it'll be beneficial across the board for everyone. The thing I think, the one statistic I pulled that is just mind-blowing to me, and I'm sure everyone's heard a lot of it, and I'm not a lender, so I'm pulling statistics from lenders, but refinance with lenders from last year is up 218% because the rates have decreased. And what that has really allowed is people to do true refinances, cash out refinances, and really lower their payments in a time of uncertainty with money. So I think that's just a wonderful thing. And our closing company has really seen a tremendous uptick in refinances because of this. And, you know, each week is different. The rates change daily, and, you know, you got to go with your preferred vendor and see what fits perfect. But that really is a great opportunity for anyone who owns real estate right now to refinance and get a better rate, opening up some equity, getting a lower payment that allows you to do other stuff in the market, and all sorts of stuff like that. So I think that was probably the most staggering statistic, is that up 218%. And I think that's amazing. So Jennifer King posted some great statistics the other day, and sorry, Jen, I stole them off you, but I'm giving you a shout out. In March 2020, in the 32789 zip code. There were 66 new listings with an average 76 days on the market and 53 closings. In comparison to 2019, that wasn't a huge dip. So in March 2019, there were 79 listings. So we're talking 66 in March 2020 and 79 in March 2019. So there is a bit of a dip, but not tremendous. Now, we haven't seen the full April numbers at this point, and that really will come to show because I think the frantic kind of happened at the end of March. But some of the positives that we've seen through April is when kind of the market crashed and everything was going on that end of March and the uncertainty was so high, we saw that there was kind of a pause on everything. And the reason for that was no one knew what to do. Even our closing company was like, what's going to happen with closings? What's going to happen with refinances? Is everyone going to put a pause on lending? How are banks going to deal with this? How are agents going to deal with not being able to just do open houses on whenever they want and have tons of people walking through? And we've really seen that in the beginning of April, it started to come back. And the reason for that I think is truly technology and our ability as a community to social distance and respect that. And the technology we have today, we're having a lot more showings via Skype, showings via Zoom, showings via videos. A lot of our photographers out in the market are moving with the market and being able to show all aspects of a house without you even setting foot into the door. And I think that's really a trend we're going to see long term in the real estate industry. Instead of going house to house to house, you're going to be able to see a lot more and maybe narrow down your search. And then you're not searching as much and bouncing around. I think it's kind of like a trend we're going to see when the Trulias of the market came, the apps Trulia and Zillow came on the market. You see more pictures of an interior of a house. You kind of know what you're going in to see before you're there. And really, when you're doing that walkthrough, it is that you're going in knowing you already somewhat like the house. So I think that's going to be a lot of the change. And we saw a lot of those statistics because the Showing Time app in early April and March, it really freaked out that there weren't as many showings and what's going to happen to the industry. But it started to uptick in April. So people are starting to go back out and look at houses. Buyers and sellers, people are always going to have to sell. People are always going to have to buy. People are going to be moving. I think a lot of the employment uncertainty when we come out of this and truly reopen as a state, the employment uncertainty will cause a lot of real estate movement. The one thing that I think is really important for anyone wondering what's happening with the market is they're just predictions. We're looking at everything and we can never fully say this is what's going to happen. But what we've seen historically is when buy and sell in a traditional value is low, investments higher, or commercial goes higher. So it really is all just bouncing around. Refinances allow people to stay in their home longer. So maybe they're not going to sell, but at the same time, maybe they get a new job and they have to sell. So there's really just so much unpredictability of it. But looking at trends and looking at upticks is really what I think we can look at and say, this is the best that we can predict a market. I think the main thing that I saw, the big one that I saw this week, trying to really dial it down to, we're at the end of April and, March statistics are going to be very different from April and we don't have those yet, is Christine Stallings and the Turner Group posted that there were 100 new listing contract or houses under contract more than the week prior. And that was, I believe, posted on Monday or Tuesday. And they're looking at what's going under contract through the MLS. So it was 100 more than the week prior. So I think that's huge to show that the trend is going to get back to stable, normal, and continuing to grow with our economy. Because despite a pandemic and everyone being on quote unquote quarantine and lockdown and only essential businesses, which real estate was included in that, people are still going out, selling, and buying a home. From a closing perspective and a legal perspective, what does that mean? Are there ways to what if I get a job? So a lot of the real estate contracts, kind of allow for that, because unless you're cash buying, and I'm generalizing, of course, there's situations in every contract that are different, but unless you're cash buying, you're under a lender that you have to maintain your employment throughout. So the fear of losing your employment would make you ineligible if you had been under contract. You no longer have that employment. The lender is likely going to deny you for that loan, and you are going to get out of that contract. On the reverse, most industries are getting back to normal now, slowly coming back. And I say most because I know there are some that are staggering, and it's going to take some time, but there's a good chunk of the economy that is still growing. So we can have some security in that when you're selling a home. We got a lot of questions and calls and panicked calls right when this went down on, can someone just say there's a pandemic and walk out and they don't want the house anymore? No, generally no, they cannot. There has to be, the reason there's an emergency clause in a contract is really the house burnt down, a hurricane came through and destroyed it, and there really is no longer something to contract. So that is really the general view on that emergency out clause that everyone freaked about, is that no, just a pandemic alone doesn't fall into that generally. There have been arguments, and people have made the arguments, and there's been case law that, people have made that argument and somewhat stood for it, but it hasn't turned into a rule yet. As far as closings, so I own a real estate closing company, Champion Title and Closing. And when this occurred, of course, my very first thing to do was to panic and say, wow, if real estate tanks right now, our company tanks completely with it. What happens to all these contracts? What happens if everyone loses their job and lenders are lending? And I, of course, did the same type of internal panic that everyone else in the world is doing. But we've seen that it hasn't stopped. We've actually, March, April, been busier than we were January, February. Some of that is the time of year. Some of that is this is getting close to the end of the school year and people are looking to move and sell. But a lot of that, I think, really shows that the market in real estate is somewhat stabilized still. And that's a balance between contracts, new home sales and buys, and refinances. But it's really been a pretty adequate balance, and 50-50 for the title company. But we've really had to make some changes in the way we do business. And the reason for that, and just like realtors are doing and brokers and lenders, is the social distancing aspect. So the biggest thing that came about from this, and that I think is one of the number one things that'll stick across the board, is remote online notarization. So a lot of the parties in a transaction can close digitally at this point. Now, the one caveat is lender documents. Those still need to be wet signed. Those still need to be in person. So the buyer side most likely is coming in when there's lender documents. But seller side, cash deal type closings can be completely done remote, like we're doing now. And how that comes about, everyone wonders, how do you do that? How do you make sure the right person is signing? You're doing it pretty much like we're doing it now via Zoom, where you're getting on a call, you're looking, the person's holding their ID up, they're confirming that's the person, where the camera has to show that they are the one signing it. And it really is something that was expedited through this pandemic, but I guarantee will stick throughout, because it makes it more efficient for everyone. It takes away travel time that people have to come if they're buying a home, selling a home. If they qualify for the remote online notarization, it really makes it easy on them. They can do it at different hours. They're not contingent on a title company being able to presently at that point. So I think that's going to be a big thing that sticks throughout this, that comes from this pandemic, that sticks. And, legally, it likely soon, and there's statutes that are pushing that, will go to other areas of law that you can sign digitally for a lot more than we've been able to do in the past. And I think that's one of the best technology advances we've had through this pandemic. The other thing that, a lot of people worried about is there going to be issues when I buy a home with recording? If counties are closed, if counties are understaffed, are there issues with all of that? And truly, that we haven't seen that in Central Florida. We daily track what counties we are doing closings in to make sure there's not going to be delays. They have done staffing remote. They have lowered their staffing, but the beauty of Central Florida, and when I talk Central Florida, I'm talking mostly Orange, Seminole, Osceola County, is that most things were already digital. You could already digitally file deeds. You didn't have to walk them down. They didn't have to be couriered down. The office didn't have to be open for them to process. So we truly haven't seen delays in that. As far as closings, people say, okay, what about my HOA? What about liens? What about all the delays that can occur with that? When you close on a property, there's title insurance, and our underwriters are the ones that really dictate if we can override some things and push through. And so underwriters have really been good at making sure delays don't occur. If there's a delay with an estoppel or lien search, there's some gaps that we can make sure to make that up and continue to close. And that's been one of the biggest thing also, is to ensure that. So from what we're seeing from March to this day, end of month, where closings are crazy and you tend to see if things are going to fall out, there hasn't been as much fallout as we predicted at the end of March. At the end of March, everyone was very uncertain, and there just wasn't that as much fallout. So I think it's truly incredible. I think it shows that there are ways to do real estate remotely, digitally, not taking away that personal touch. It's just everyone's had to get creative on how do you make that personal touch. On the biggest purchase, sale, something you're buying, investment of your life, you're putting a lot of money into this. So we still don't want to take away that personal touch with this entire experience. And I think that's one of the most important things to take away. But refinance is up. Each week, new contracts going under are going up. Listings are still happening. Everyone kept saying listings are just going to stop. Who's going to sell their home in this time of age? They're still happening. People are still needing to sell, whether that be downsizing, upsizing, baby on the way, moving for a job, or just, hey, I found another house I want. So they're still happening. They're still growing, and especially in the Winter Park area, it's thriving, and it continues to go up. So my takeaway from all of this is, for the one industry, we can be, I think, very positive in seeing that there hasn't been a complete dip. I think this is something in a week we reevaluate when we see all of true April numbers, and I'm happy to pull all of those and get them over to the chamber to share with you guys, because I think it's really important for everyone to analyze that. But it's just, prices are still growing. There was, in Orlando, there was an 8% price increase from March of last year to March of this year. So the prices are still going up. And again, that's March. So once we see April, and once the economy really feels the dip, there might be a little softening right there, but we just haven't seen it overall yet. And I would beg to differ if we're going to really see it that hard, because it has been able to sustain. So Amy, do we want to take some questions or?
Absolutely. And Jessica, thank you so much for so eloquently sharing what's going on in the real estate market. As I mentioned earlier, we've had lots of questions about it over the last few weeks, and I think there really was a lot of fear, because we all know that real estate's connected to lots of other markets and could really impact us. So it's so heartening to hear your positive view on things, and to know that it's not as bad as we all thought it might have been. So that's phenomenal. And also, I thought it was very interesting to hear the ways that the real estate industry has adapted very quickly during these times. And I find it very, very cool how they've quickly adapted, and we're going to see a lot of positive ways technology is used in the future.
Yeah, and I think it'd be really good to do, I'll do a recap in a week when we know March or April numbers. Can't even believe it's May tomorrow. But again, our closings, I got to go a lot on what I'm seeing through our company, and our closings have continued to go up. So, especially our Winter Park area seems to be sustaining this. And I think that's great to see. And, it's hard to predict, but I think, we've kind of seen the worst of it, hopefully, at this point, and the impacts that has. So I think there's a lot of positive to come from this.
Okay, well, as I said, that's just so heartening to hear. Let's go ahead and open this up for questions. So if you are currently watching live, we encourage you to ask your questions. If you're on Zoom, there are two ways to ask questions, and I'm going to ask Tiffany Cahill, who's our events manager on the call, to assist me with questions today. So if you're on Zoom, the preferred method to ask a question would be to raise your hand through Zoom. And you can find that raise hand icon at the bottom of your screen, be it on your computer or on your phone. Alternatively, you are welcome to ask any questions in the chat box, and that can be found in the same place. If you're watching on Facebook, which I see many of you are, please just drop your question in the comments, and we will take a look and read those out to Jessica as they come through. Just taking a look at Facebook, we do have quite a few people watching on there, but no questions have come through yet. While we're waiting for a potential question, I'll ask one if that's okay, Jessica. So as I said, so encouraged and impressed with how technology is being used so quickly. And you mentioned a lot of the positives that we'll see going forward, like being able to do things remotely, faster. Do you foresee any negatives coming out of that shift? Like, for example, a lessening of the role of the real estate agent, or just any possible negatives to look out for?
So I actually did think of that. I was like, who are we eliminating? Normally technology comes in and you feel someone's eliminated. And truly, I don't see that happening in real estate. And the reason for that is I think the quick perspective is agents are there to show you a house. They are so much more than that, from just personally buying and selling, and then also sitting on the side of the closing company and seeing how much they do. They facilitate 80% of what's going on: inspections, making sure it's proper, looking at it, comps. There's a lot that you're not going to be able to get. And that's really why for sale by owners don't just take over the market. It's really why the Zillow e-buying type didn't take over the market. They actually tanked through this. It's because that, with as big of a purchase as this is, purchase, sale, anything, that you want an expert that's like, you're getting top dollar, you're priced right. Yes, your inspection was great. That inspector did a great job. Yes, your appraiser did a great job. No, it's undervalued. The appraiser didn't do a good job. Let's get another opinion type stuff. And that's really the expertise that agent is playing. The lenders are all going to be there. Closing companies are going to be there because, we facilitate most of what has to happen. I just think the way we do it's going to be a little different. And I think the negative, if we want to say a negative, is just that client interaction. You sit there and you go, but I really like sitting at the closing table, and I like bringing a gift to to my client at the closing table. And now it's just going to be, let's get creative. If that's not where we go back to a normal industry, let's get creative. Maybe we meet them at the house after the closing and hand them the keys and leave them a present there or whatever, just to congratulate. But I think we'll just see a lot more creativity out of it and a lot more efficiency out of it, where an agent might be able to take on more listings because they're not driving to 5 closings in a day that didn't allow them to show a house or get a house sold. So I really think we're not going to see elimination in the real estate market. We're just going to see probably some better processes, because everyone's so essential to ensure that everyone gets either the best price or top dollar, or quickly sold, depending on what the motives of the buyer and seller are at that point. So I think that's really going to be a good thing of it all, is we don't see an elimination from the technology that comes in the real estate market.
Well, that's great to hear too, and thank you for sharing your thoughts on that. I don't see any questions coming through live. Tiffany, am I missing anything on Facebook or otherwise that you see?
I don't see anything on Facebook, and I don't have any hands raised, so we are
Okay.
all good on this side.
Okay, great. Well, Jessica, that means you covered most of the questions in your presentation. Thank you once again for sharing all of your valuable knowledge and information about the real estate market. We so appreciate you being with us today.
Thank you for having me. And like I said, we'll be doing a recap of April numbers next week, and I can get that over to you guys so you can share it with your members, because I'm sure everyone would like to see what the numbers are in our community for April.
Absolutely, we will definitely share that. And what we will do is post that recap on our website. So if you're interested, go to winterpark.org on the Securing Your Business webinar tab. There you'll be able to view that information as well as this recording and other webinars that we've had in the past. On that note, I'd like to give you a few quick updates before we sign off. First of all, if you're not following us on social media or Instagram, we hope that you'll choose to. And if you're not currently receiving our daily briefing, you can sign up by visiting winterpark.org as well. I want to give a quick shout out to Tiffany Cahill, our events manager, that make our webinars possible by organizing all the logistics, and our team for helping us recruit some of the best and brightest speakers. So thank you, Winter Park staff, for that. Tomorrow, we have a special webinar coming up. It is our Good Morning Winter Park webinar. So typically we're able to convene live in our building, but we have moved this to a virtual platform that you're able to enjoy from your own home. This will be at 10 a.m. and will be on building stress resilience during these trying times. So a topic that should help just about everyone out there. We'll have Dan Marcone, LMCHO owner from Seasons Counseling. So be sure to join us tomorrow at 10. And then looking ahead till next week, on Monday, we'll have a very timely topic of preparing your employees to return to work. Looking at the legal requirements for transitioning your staff from a work from home environment back into the office in the coming weeks. We'll have Mark Van Valkenburg, managing attorney at Mark Van Valkenburg PLLC, there with us. So thank you once again for joining us today. Hope everyone has a wonderful afternoon, and we hope to see you at one of our later webinars this week or next. Thank you and good night.